Hello, annyeonghaseyo, goeiedag. My name is Sangho. I'm the CEO of Cryptopia and I welcome you to CryptopiaCast. Here we discover the latest trends in crypto space and the people behind them. By the way, if you do not know Cryptopia, we are an upcoming blockchain game that stands out by design choices. We are free to earn, so no need for an NFT or an investment. We are 100% decentralized and most of all, fun to play. Are you ready to dive into the wonderful world of crypto, NFTs and games? Then please join me. So here we are today with Emil. So Emil, first question always on this podcast, who is Emil?
Thank you for asking that. Who is Emil? I would like to say Emil is just a very creative human being that likes seeing creativity all over. It doesn't matter if it's nature, if it's in humans. Like I like to see things, the full potential of things, of what could be. That's who I think Emil is.
Nice, very nice. How did you onboard yourself into Web3?
Awesome. The way I onboarded myself into Web3 is kind of peculiar. I was in a very rough time in my life after COVID-19 happened. And also, I was losing my mom recently in 2018 due to cancer. So, lack of employment and nowhere to go really with family or friends. I started, my routine daily of just benching on Netflix. And then I bumped into a documentary called Cryptopia, which is having to do with Bitcoin at the time.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, something in my mind just clicked. Because a lot of people, I told this story last year in East Denver, that when I was in high school, I wrote a paper for my English class, and they said, how would the earth change 10, 20, 30 years from now? That was back in 2005. And I still have this paper just to show people that it's true. That I think that the world is going to move towards a one nation universal monetary system that's going to be digital, because we're going to be too lazy to carry things at the time. And this was back when it was AOL 2.0 and things like that. So when I tell that story, people are asking me, "Are you Satoshi?" And I'm like, "No, I wish I was." But fast forward to after I see that documentary, I did extensive research, and whenever I try to get into any career, in general, I like to know the ins and outs. So for 3 months, I literally had my roommate at the time think I was crazy. 6 days a week, 16 hours a day, learn everything about history, financial literacy, world politics, geopolitics, everything about the banking system. And then after 3 months, I let all that process for a week. And then I let it ferment. And then I said to myself, I think this is it. This is going to be part of history. And I really want to be part of history. So I started going to my local Best Buy and Micro Center and buying GPUs. And then I started doing crypto mining for Ethereum at the time.
Okay.
And then it got to the point where I had a little farm in my basement, earning me close to $2,000 to $3,000 passively Ethereum at the time.
Nice.
And people in my family didn't understand what they were even looking at. They're like, "What is this? It's just a light show." Because I'm very, very flamboyant when I do things. Like most miners, they just slap things into the racks. I like to have everything color coded and actually make it, use function.
Yeah.
Then around 2020, I was introduced to a more deeper part of Web3, which was the technological side of it, which was through Axie Infinity.
Mm.
My fiance at the time, she told me that, this company is doing something very big for the Philippine community. So I told her, I'm gonna look into this because I'm not gonna invest in something that I don't feel comfortable with
Mm.
because I have all my money tied up in crypto mining. So that being said, I did my research and I did see the potential that Sky Mavis had at the time, and I was like, okay, let me invest, and even if it doesn't work out, at least I know it's helping out people, and that's really what truly onboarded me officially into Web3.
Cool. Nice story. Really nice
Yeah,
story. So a basement full of rigs with nice color-coded devices.
yeah. Mhm.
I can really
Yes.
imagine your family was like, okay, this is nice, but how the hell are you making money with it? It's like
I tell them it's a ATM at home. That's basically it.
that's really a cool one. Yeah. Nice one. So it logically also, you already said something. 2018, your mother passed away. You were talking about your
Yes.
fiance. So I think a lot of things happened, since then. So what's, major life events, you already spoke about it, but what would you tell help you mold yourself into, who you are today? So, life defining moments. You already told about that you were, sitting in the basement or sitting on your bench, Netflixing, and suddenly you stumbled upon the series or the movie Cryptopia, and that was sort of, this decisive thing for you to dive into it and really try to understand if there's something going on. Are there any more of these moments from your youth or maybe
Yes.
recently?
So, more things that I would say morphed me into who I am today is that looking back into all my, I would say, not failures, but learning experience,
Mm-hmm.
is that I never really fit into the society or the circle that I've been with, because I come from an impoverished background. So everyone, including even the small local store owners, all their knowledge is you go to work, do a 9 to 5, and repeat,
Yeah,
pay taxes, and barely live off
what
the
you can do.
bills after
Yeah.
paying. And I that never, even though I never had mentoring at a young age, sat well with me. So that being said, just something didn't feel right. Every time that I went to a job when I was younger, I just didn't fit in. Every time the bosses, I tried to I outshine them, even without knowing, and it usually got me fired. And I didn't know why, because I'm the type of person that the way I was raised, if they give you rules, follow it by follow the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm not supposed to follow the rule book because even the people higher ups likes to break the rules at the time, and then that just doesn't sit well with me. But that being said, as a teenager, I had jobs and internships that most teenagers didn't have. So instead of flipping burgers like most high schoolers are working at the mall, I started selling stocks and life insurance at 16
Okay.
with a company at the time called Prime America, which is, I think, Umbrella today.
Mm.
And I made my money. I was the only one in the high school that drove their own car. It was a mommies and daddies. But I moved on. I didn't stick with it. I should have stuck with it. And I also was a junior journalist when I was in high school also, and that gave me the talent to just dig into things.
Mm.
I would say that that's something that helped me mold myself. And honestly, I've always been an entrepreneur without knowing I'm an entrepreneur. Because even before I was working in high school for the insurance company, I had my own little Pokemon store at home. That was when Pokemon first came out. I used to like buy boxes, tell my dad buy boxes from eBay. Let's sell them for $2-3 to the kids coming home. We had little ice cream pops and things like that. And that was my own allowance. Like I was always making businesses, even though they didn't raise me to do businesses, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just something that clicked to me. Like, why do I need to work for someone, barking orders when I could do better?
Exactly. Yeah. Or keep more of the revenue for myself, right? So
Correct.
exactly. So it's perfect. I agree with that. It's perfectly okay to work for a boss, and then at 40-50% of what my contribution is, and it's okay to share. But above that, why should I give it to you? I mean, come on, it's not fair.
And it's
right?
not even that. It's just that most bosses, that's all they really are. They're bosses. They're not leaders. I've
That's
never
also
really met anyone that treated me as an equal or wanted to teach me.
Yeah. Those are rare. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
So that's something that I took upon myself. That with KatsCo, I wanted to be someone to be like a mentor or a friend to my team, so like that they could come to me, even with their everyday life, and I'll mentor them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And do you have also relatively younger people then working in your team?
Well, let's see. Most people, I guess, compared to my age, are younger than me. They're like in their 20s. Most of them are in either college, second year or third year.
Okay. And
I
they're
think
also
the oldest one is Miss Rachel. I call her Miss Rachel because she's older than me. But she's a secretary. She's very happy, published person, and I see. I guess since I lost my mom, every time I see someone that's a bit older, that's a woman, I see them like a mother figure.
sort of resemble. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And do the people working with you also want to be coached and want to be mentored? Because I can imagine that when you're young and you have your own ideas and have to be a bit stubborn.
Some of them, they're a little too eager to learn, and I'm like, whoa. Let's take it from this step. Like recently, I had an intern. His name is Vishal, and he just came to me saying, "Okay, tell me what to do. I want to be an education, this, and that. Let's work on your DAO." I'm like, whoa, we're not there yet, buddy. But let's take. I like it,
Yeah.
and let's take your energy, and let's start with step one. So I started teaching him how to do coding and developing. He already has a background for C++.
All right.
So now I'm teaching him Solidity and smart contracts. Tell him baby steps. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon.
Exactly. Yeah. It's wow. Cool. So you also managed to teach yourself coding because you didn't
Yes.
tell that. So wow.
So ironically, back in high school, also another funny story. I was one of 3 students that did their high school senior project on a website. So back in the day, 2005, this is when the internet was first coming out.
Yeah.
Everybody used to do like the open boards for their senior projects or a PowerPoint at the time. I sat down and wrote HTML code.
Wow. Cool.
And did my own website, which I still have the printout. Very fat page. I should have stuck to that. But like I tell people, it's like riding a bicycle. When you have such talent or do such intricate things, it's more of a practice. So I already had that entailed of HTML, even though I never really truly went for it. So I picked up how to read code, not type it, pretty fast. Because that's one thing that I want to, as a founder, I want to know if the team is doing the right code, if they were doing it right. I don't want to hire someone to, put in a code or something that I'm not gonna know.
Yeah.
Something malicious or whatever.
Yeah. Wow, very good, very good. So you write your own smart contracts then, or you
Yes.
can understand? Okay.
So I tell them how to write it and
Wow.
how I want it to be written, and I tell them, okay, so we're gonna use Rust for this part. We're gonna use Node.js for this. This is how you're gonna do it. But me physically sitting down and writing it, no. But I know how to direct it
Exactly.
and read it.
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, when did you realize? Well, you already gave it away, but I'm gonna ask you again. When did you really realize that Web3 and the crypto industry were the sectors that you want to be part of? So when was really that moment, like, or after the movie you saw Cryptopia, of course, but also you saw you introduced it, like, okay, the system you envision a system. There's a one world with one currency. So that implies that you see that something's wrong at the moment.
I've always seen something wrong, always. Now, the real thing that told me that this will be the future, besides the past experiences and watching the movie, is that the educational part. Something never really sat down with me well, especially in college, that I went for media arts and animation and business, that most people shouldn't need a degree for certain things in life. And just because you don't have a degree doesn't mean that you're less valuable as a human being.
True.
And I think that Web3 is something that could bridge that doctrine of Web2, because most people don't know the power of self-educating themselves. Like, I'm a very big DIY person. Whenever I don't know something, I learn it. As somebody who comes from poverty, if I can afford something, I make it. Like, I can literally make an engine block with a sand mold. I know how to do things like that.
Oh, wow.
But just the same way that I can teach myself, I know that people in impoverished countries like India, Pakistan, Southeast Asia, they're very bright people, but they're so stressed with the government's economy. They're so stressed with the doctrine of you have to go to college to be somebody in life. And I don't think that's fair, because me personally, a sad story in high school that happened to me, which I guess affected me until today, is that I had a math teacher, and she literally said this out in the whole class. If I didn't make it to MIT, I doubt that you, pointing at me, will make it. Well, funny story. I'm talking to people that work at MIT now, so okay. Moral of the story.
Yeah.
And the same thing with college. Like, college, they actually dropped me because of English class. And I'm like, I actually went for art, not English. I could hire an editor or something. Even though I had A's all across the board, they dropped me because I failed English 3 times.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
And my dream in college, which I'm making in the reality right now, is to have my own gaming anime studio. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So
You're the example of, you can do it also the other way. Yeah.
Correct.
Of course, we all agree that, having a certificate or a diploma, it testifies that you can, do something specific, but it shouldn't be the other way around, right? So if you don't have it, it doesn't mean that you can't do it, right? That's
correct. Because I see degrees one of 2 ways. If you have to be with like doctors or lawyer, please have a degree, because you're dealing with someone's life.
Yeah.
But most degrees, it just lets me know that you're really good at remembering answers,
or attending
not
class.
not thinking outside the box.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of coding, right? Because I think I work a lot with coders, and this is the only sector where you can, just walk in, show what you got, and get hired regardless of any documents or diplomas. It's
Correct.
really, it's really nice, really nice. And Web3, you're right. It's it's an extension of that, or even going beyond it. So I fully agree with you so far. So let's circle a bit back, because we even didn't talk about where you're what you do, right? We just talked about your personal
Yeah.
life and how you got into Web3. But what is it that you do with KatsDojo?
It's KatsDojo,
Yeah,
but it's also KatsCo.
KatsCo. Okay.
So KatsCo, you can think of it as Sky Mavis,
Mm-hmm.
and KatsDojo will be the equivalent to a guild for gaming.
Okay.
With KatsDojo, I started with Axie Infinity, but then I migrated to other different games as I partner with Blockchain Space. They're wonderful, wonderful partners. Very good friends with Peter Ng. But KatsCo as a whole is like the baby company, the brand. So what I would love to see with KatsCo is for it to be known as a brand, to onboard organically people into Web3 with education, and with the hardware down the line. Because most people, again, in India and things like that, they don't even have a simple 8 gig smartphone.
Mm.
That's like the minimum specs for most of these games to earn. But a bigger picture, I would like to use the brand of KatsCo to help gap Southeast Asia with America, because as I sit in many Twitter spaces, there's so much of a gap. And honestly speaking, which is sad, there's like a 10-year gap between Southeast Asia and America,
Okay.
because most Americans, they're focused on the NFT aspects of flips,
Mm-hmm.
and they really don't know anything more besides the pictures as NFTs. They don't, I don't know if they don't choose to learn or if they don't want to learn,
That's a good one.
that there's more to just FOMOing or blue shipping a collection. Because, and then I was sitting down one time in a space and I told them all these things that you could do. They was like, huh? And I'm like, and that's sad.
Yeah.
And then the other companies that I do see that are from here in the States, they don't want to work with Southeast Asia. They see them as a competitor. And I'm like, Web3 shouldn't be anything about a competition. You need to leave that mindset of Web2.
Yeah.
Because if anything, you're going to get the main workforce, the main adopters from Southeast Asia first. And that's really not what Web3 was meant for. If anything, is to be against that. And too many people I see in many projects, sadly, they're just thinking about me. And that's really not what Web3 was meant for.
No, absolutely true. Yeah. And that also causes project owners to behave in a malicious way, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's not helping. And I would like to just be, I guess, the middleman.
Yeah.
Because I can get along pretty well with both and just anyone, because I see value in every culture. Every culture, I see beauty, not even in their food, the tradition. And honestly, even when I was younger, I fell in love with the Asian culture.
Mm.
I don't know why. Maybe in my past life, I was Asian or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I always been attracted to Asia as a whole, and I think we can learn as Americans, or Europe for that matter, more about the technology, because a lot of people don't know Microsoft and all these softwares, They're written by India. they just patent it. That's it. So
yeah.
if you're really serious about Web3, you need to see who's serious about it.
Yeah.
That's a business aspect. One of the projects that I wish to hopefully see one day is to be able to give free energy to the Philippines, because I know that they have a very bad electric grid.
Yeah.
When I started the company, I was asking my fiance and the team at the time, what are the things that you guys have that are flaws besides the economy? Because I already know the economy. That's nothing I can fix unless I go into politics.
Yeah.
And they say the energy grid. So I took my time and I actually outreach one of the national scientists who's from Diliman University.
Okay.
And I told him, look, I'm going to work on something. I'm going to put you in my pocket for one day when I have, the investors to come in, because I really like your wave and wind energy that you have. And I'm pretty sure we could use this and mix it to become node validators for Web3, to not only give people free energy, but give them free income just to be hosts at their home.
Yeah.
And there was and he didn't even know at the time what I was talking about, but he saw, research money. So he's like, okay, sure. And I I really want to help your man, your fellow man, because, my fiance and her family, I see them, how they live. And I really wish she doesn't live the way she does. She lives in the farmland houses on things that I watch on National Geographic. And I'm like, man,
okay.
People are still living like this nowadays. It baffles me.
Yeah.
Something gotta happen.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So you took it upon you to at least try to start something over there. Okay. And how is it progressing? Is there progress? Is there?
It's a very slow progress, because I guess I want to take on so much. So I have to take a few steps back and not overwhelm investors. So with that being said, I told myself I see a few flaws right now within Web3, as far as decentralization, as far as games. Most games, unlike Cryptopia, I love Cryptopia actually, they have a flawed tokenomics. They have hyperinflation. They don't have replayability. They have more of a cult that spent so much money that they don't know what else to do, sadly.
Yeah.
And I took it upon myself. I'm like, I have the knowledge from my old days in college. Let me make a game. So I started creating a portfolio of a game. And then I didn't want to go the whole route that everyone does, is 10,000 PFP. I'm like, that's too overrated. If just sell a small collection with actual utility coded into it and show what you're going to do with it. Because most of these collections is, here's pictures, we'll let you know what we do with your money later. I'm like, that doesn't work. And the same thing with the exchanges. There's so many centralized exchanges.
True. Yeah. Wow. I want to talk about Cryptopia, of course, because a lot of things you say, there are so many connections with our game, and especially empowering people. And I think what makes us hopefully successful will be the connection between the people that can afford to invest money and the people that don't want or don't have the means to invest. So
correct.
It's not imperative in our game to play the game and buy a PFP or an NFT and then start looking around and figure out if you like the game. That's not the way to go, right? And so we have to be very confident that what we build is good and beautiful, and we have to believe in it and open it up for free to everyone to see. And it's up to us and to you and all the other founders that hopefully listen to this to prove that we are right and not the other way around. So I fully agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually the reason why I fell in love with Cryptopia, because even though our games is gonna be different, the plan is the same.
Yeah,
Let people who are players, because I am a player myself, play for free and earn
exactly.
by grinding. Don't need to expend so much money on something up front just to earn. There's
Exactly.
different ways to earning games, especially with someone like myself that comes from MMORPGs.
Ah, me too. Me
I
too.
I, I used to grind just
Yeah.
to sell materials in the shops to get what I want.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you got what you wanted, and then if the game is good, you stay and you want more and you want to improve and stuff like that. So
Correct.
exactly, and that's
Hmm.
what we do. People can earn without investing, without paying, and we believe we build something beautiful, and we believe that the majority, and not everyone, but the majority will reinvest what they earn into the game, adding value,
Correct.
spending more time, and then it will be a positive loop. So that's what we believe. So happy to hear that you are also on that side, because I think not many games out there really think about it in that way. They want money first and then they can develop. But yeah, I think it's not a solid
Correct.
business model. So good to hear. Good to hear. Hey Emil, well, I think you already gave it away a bit, but what impact do you hope to have? And this is interesting with the Web3 community for first generation minority business owners. So that's a really interesting one.
So I consider myself a first generation minority owner because I'm the first one in my family that actually made a business, for
Okay.
that matter.
Mm,
Hopefully, my success can be a beacon of light to other people across the world. Doesn't need to be here in America. That just because they come from a certain background, either money wise, education wise, doesn't mean that they're not able to make their dreams come true.
mm.
So I really hope that all my strive and all my ups and downs, one day I could write down a book or something, or even a podcast,
Yeah.
and they could just hear it and get hopeful.
Yeah. Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely true. I hope that everyone thinks about it in that way, right? Because we all learn so much. And you said you didn't want to call it failures, but learning experiences. And
Correct.
yeah, okay. Well, I sometimes call it right out failures, or when I talk about myself, because I did something wrong. But in the end, it's what you do with it. If it becomes a learning experience, that's more my vision. So
Yes.
if you don't want to accept that it was a failure, you can never learn, right? So, but I hope a lot of
Correct.
people also share what they learned, right? Or also their failures, and everything, or almost everything, has been done before, right? So there are many people in same situations, maybe different settings, but almost same situations, and they succeeded. But how do I know? If I can't hear their story or read their story. So I hope this is a call to action to everyone: be out there and share your experiences, because there's a whole generation waiting for us to pick and choose and hopefully use it in their development. So
Correct.
I hope you do. If you can go back in time, this is always an interesting one. If you can go back in time to give yourself advice, what advice would you give? And don't talk about games, so don't go back into time and say, hey, stop grinding MMOs, get your ass off the sofa. What advice would it be?
Honestly, I would tell myself to not waste money on relationships. Number
Oh, wow.
one,
Okay.
because I honestly I did math, and I think I could have had a Lambo. um,
Okay.
and number two, I would tell myself to actually stay focused on coding or the financial industry. And even though I get bored of things after I guess accomplish it and then move on,
Hmm.
to just stick with it, to actually teach myself the discipline to see things through longer than just your first milestone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
That would be
advice.
the best advice that I could give myself.
Oh wow, wow, very nice. All right. So then you could drive a Lambo now, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So I want to wrap it up with the last question. And where do you see the KatsCo group 10 years from now? And 10 years is a lot, I know, but 10 years in the future, Web3, wow. But okay.
I truly and honestly believe that KatsCo, even though it's so small compared to other companies, in my vision of where I wish it was today, I think it will be a name that will be known throughout the whole industry, at least. That it won't be just some project from North America that everyone worldwide would know. KatsCo, I've had, a friend or family member be an intern there. They taught them well. They set me in the right path. I really hope that it's a brand that could help people move to the next stage in their life, in their Web3 journey, even though they don't need to stay with me, but at least I had a good impact with them.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really nice. That would be awesome. Yeah, cool. You triggered me because you're based in North America, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I had a podcast recording with a crypto lawyer, Nicola Vos, and if you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's really interesting.
Okay.
Also about DAO structures, and of course about being a security. If you have a token, is it a security or is it not a security, etc., etc. So how do you deal with that in the US? I mean, you're a crypto project company, so I guess it's probably challenging for you to be there.
So here's the thing that most people, this is not legal advice.
No, of course.
This is not financial advice either. But again, going back to what I said earlier in the podcast, I do extensive research, and I am a very strategic planner. So when I formulated myself as a company here, number one, I did it in Texas, which was a very big incentive for tax reasons. And they're very pro crypto. That's number one. Number two, I am what they called a formulation for data warehouse management. Because at the time, since I was into crypto mining, I set the company up as a data center. So if you think about it, the home or mother company is a data center, which has nothing to do with financial.
No.
It has to do with data. And if you think about it, all Web3 is data, whether it's tokens, NFTs, or anything. So that's one way that I shielded myself for my future investors so they don't feel worried. Number two, the way that I will implement NFTs and the game will be everything is in-house within my ecosystem. I don't really want my token to touch any exchanges besides my own.
Okay.
And people can do the whole swapping and they can put their own liquidity within my own ecosystem and everything will be on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the second part that I did is that since I am getting into gaming and art, I also formulated myself in the Philippines as a studio, an art studio.
Yeah.
That can be, outsourced for anything. So everything that I've done, I formulated myself in a way that is not going to be impaired by the SEC. And even so, if the day comes, there are places here which allow people, especially business owners, don't tend to realize, again, going back to me reading everything about history, the Native Americans here in the United States are sanctioned and a safe haven to any laws that has to do with United States. I have positioned myself with certain Native American communities that if I wish to build on their land everything that goes in there is shielded.
No.
That's why many Indian reserves have casinos,
Yeah.
and they don't need to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because that's their way of Americans doing their reprimands for what they did in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why reading the past
yeah, can help you.
Yes.
So you set it up
Correct.
that way. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, Emil, thank you for that. Sorry that I triggered that. You triggered me.
That's
so,
okay. No, it's okay.
We had a very nice conclusion, but still, I think it was very, very interesting to talk with you, especially with your background, the many things you did, how you got here. I think it's inspiring to a lot of people. The way you lead your team, by being a mentor and a coach, and really look into, what is it that they need to grow, and what is it that I can benefit from as a company, and not only what can I extract from them and then discard them. It's really like a sustainable relation you try to build, and probably that's also why that's coming back into all the things you do. So very nice to talk to you. Thank you very much. If the people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
Yes, they can find me personally on Twitter at KatsDojo.
All right.
And they can also come to our Discord, which I have a link on the Twitter as well.
All right. We'll make sure to put it in the show notes of this podcast so people can find you. So thank you very much, and hope to talk to you again, to connect with you. We are already setting up some partnerships, I believe, or we are in talks about it, right? So
correct, 100%.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.